It was a cold, dreary October evening when Sarah and her two best friends, Alex and Jess, decided to take a last-minute weekend trip to the cabin. Tucked deep in the heart of the forest, the cabin had belonged to Sarah's family for generations, abandoned for years since her grandfather's mysterious disappearance. No one had ever truly understood why he vanished without a trace. The family simply stopped talking about it, as if silence would somehow erase the fear. The drive was quiet, except for the constant hum of the car engine. Thick fog snaked around the trees, and the deeper they ventured into the woods, the denser the silence became. Even nature seemed to hold its breath. When they finally arrived, the cabin was just as Sarah remembered it, old, weathered, but still standing strong, as if it was waiting for something. Inside, the musty smell hit them immediately, like the air hadn't moved in years. Alex joked about it, trying to lighten the mood, but Jess seemed uneasy. "Something feels off," she murmured, almost to herself, her eyes scanning the walls as though they might hold secrets. They settled in, lit a fire, and opened a bottle of wine. Laughter began to fill the space, masking the gnawing unease that none of them wanted to admit. But as the night deepened, the air inside the cabin felt heavier, oppressive. Sarah's mind kept drifting back to her grandfather. She had never truly believed the stories, the whispers of the cabin being cursed, the locals' hushed warnings to stay away. It had always felt like just that, stories. But then, things started to change. It began with small sounds, scratches from the walls, faint creaks of the floorboards upstairs. At first, they brushed it off as the wind, or maybe the house settling. But around midnight, as they sat around the fire, Sarah froze. There it was, unmistakable, a low whisper, coming from the hallway. Alex laughed nervously. "Come on, Sarah, you're just hearing things." But Jess was pale, her hands trembling slightly. "I heard it too," she whispered. And the moment the words left her lips, they all heard it, a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Sarah. Sarah. Come closer." Sarah's blood ran cold. It sounded like her grandfather. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice shaking. No answer, just the crackling fire and the oppressive silence that followed. They all stood still, eyes glued to the hallway. But before anyone could react, the front door slammed shut. The windows rattled as if something was pressing against the walls of the cabin, trying to get in. Or out. "Let's go," Jess whispered, her voice barely audible. But as they gathered their things to leave, the fire suddenly roared to life, flames twisting unnaturally high. The shadows on the walls seemed to stretch, shifting into strange, elongated shapes, almost human, but not quite. And then came the voice again, clearer this time, louder, "Don't leave." It was coming from upstairs. "I'm not staying here," Alex said, heading for the door. But as he reached for the handle, a loud thud echoed from above. Something heavy. Something alive. They all stared at the ceiling. The thudding grew louder, faster, like footsteps racing toward the stairs. Jess screamed, bolting for the door. But it wouldn't open. It was jammed, as if the house itself refused to let them go. The lights flickered, and the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Their breath hung in the air like smoke. "Sarah," the whisper came again, right behind her this time. She spun around, but no one was there. Yet she felt it, an icy hand brush her shoulder. Instinctively, she turned toward the old family portrait that hung crooked on the wall. Her grandfather's face had changed. His eyes, once kind, now glared down at her, hollow, as if warning her. Or luring her. The thud stopped, and the cabin grew silent. Too silent. And then, a single creak, a footstep on the stairs. Slowly, painfully slow, something was descending. They backed away, inching toward the far corner of the room. Alex gripped a fire poker, trembling, while Jess whispered prayers under her breath. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, but her legs felt rooted to the spot. She couldn't move. Finally, from the shadows at the top of the stairs, something emerged. A figure, familiar but distorted. It looked like her grandfather, but his face. It was wrong. His skin hung loosely, as though it didn't quite fit, and his eyes were nothing but deep, black pits. His mouth hung open, unnaturally wide, as if frozen in a silent scream. "Sarah." The voice came from his twisted lips, a haunting echo of her childhood memories. "Stay with me. Forever." The last thing they saw before the lights went out was the figure rushing toward them, faster than anything human should move. The door finally gave way, but as they stumbled out into the night, Sarah felt a cold hand grip her ankle, dragging her back toward the darkness. They never found Sarah. Alex and Jess were found by search parties, huddled in a nearby clearing, incoherent and traumatized, mumbling about the cabin and the whispering man. To this day, no one dares go near the cabin. Some say it's cursed, that Sarah's grandfather is still there, waiting for her. Waiting for anyone foolish enough to listen to the whispers. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, you can still hear it. "Sarah. Come closer."